Ladies and gentlemen, today's ceremony will begin in 5 minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seat. The ceremony will begin in 2 minutes. Please silence your cell phones and other electronic devices. Good morning, distinguished guests, fellow service members, and members of the Salt Lake community. My name is Sergeant Major Keith Hovey with the 76th Operational Response Command, United States Army Reserve. Thank you for joining us for this historic event. Please rise for the arrival of the official party, presentation of the colors, and the playing and singing of our national anthem by the 88th Readiness Division's 484th Army Band and the Utah National Guard's 23rd Army Band, featuring solo vocalist Staff Sergeant Bridget Kidd. Please remain standing for the invocation offered by Chaplain Daniel Haas from the 807th Theater Medical Command.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please join me in the spirit of prayer. Holy One, we are grateful for the history of Fort Douglas, the people who have lived and worked here, the citizens who were transformed into soldiers, the Army civilians who have supported this place. We're grateful for the territory upon which we gather today. We respect Utah's indigenous peoples, the original stewards of this land, and we value the sovereign relationships that exist between tribal governments, state governments, and the federal government. Holy One, watch over us as we close the Stephen A. Douglas Armed Forces Reserve Center today. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. Please be seated. On behalf of the United States Army Reserve and Major General Kevin Meisler, Commanding General of the 88th Readiness Division, welcome to the closing ceremony of the Stephen A. Douglas Armed Forces Reserve Center and the transfer of Fort Douglas to the University of Utah. We are honored to be joined today by Lieutenant General Robert Harder, Chief of Army Reserve and Commanding General, United States Army Reserve, the Honorable Blake Moore, United States Representative, Dr. Taylor Randall, University of Utah President, Major General Kevin Meisler, 88th Readiness Division Commanding General and host for today's ceremony, and Command Sergeant Major Gregory Betty, the Command Sergeant Major of the United States Army Reserve. We are also privileged to welcome Lieutenant General Jody Daniels, former Chief of Army Reserve and Commanding General, United States Army Reserve Command, whose leadership helped shape the vision that brings us to this historic day. Finally, we are honored to welcome our Fort Douglas two-star command teams, the 76th Operational Response Command, Major General Dean Thompson, and Command Sergeant Major Jason Goodman, and the 807th Theater Medical Command, Major General Michael Yost, and Command Sergeant Major Tully Culp. We also extend this warm welcome to our other general officers, Command Sergeants Major, distinguished visitors, community leaders, veterans, soldiers, Army civilians, University of Utah partners, families, and friends. Thank you for joining us as we honor the legacy of Fort Douglas and mark the beginning of its next chapter. For over 160 years, the slopes of the Wasatch Bench have witnessed a unique and evolving partnership between the United States Army Reserve and the University of Utah and the state of Utah. The story of Fort Douglas begins at the height of the Civil War. In October of 1862, Colonel Patrick Edward Connor and 1,500 California and Nevada volunteers arrived in the Utah Territory. Their mission was to guard the overland mail route. Concerned about secessionist activities in the area, Colonel Connor chose a location that allowed overwatch of the Mormon settlers. Colonel Connor established a post initially called Camp Douglas and named in honor of the late Illinois Senator Stephen A. Douglas. By the late 1860s, the initial distrust between the Army and the local settlers had given way to wary accommodation. The settlers remained loyal to the Union, and the Army's presence provided Salt Lake City with a much-needed economic boost. Soon after, Army regulars from the 18th Infantry took the reins from the discharging volunteers. With the expansion of the American West in the 1870s, the camp became a critical supply center for fast-moving cavalry. Recognizing its growing importance, the military officially designated it Fort Douglas in 1878, expanding its footprint to over 10,000 acres. Through both World Wars, Fort Douglas served as a vital mobilization and training garrison. During World War I, it housed an internment camp, but its strategic significance truly peaked during World War II. Following the attack on Pearl Harbor, the 9th Service Command, the nerve center directing military operations for most of the western United States, was relocated here from San Francisco to avoid potential coastal attacks. At its height in 1943, the fort bustled with a military population of 1,000, supported by thousands of civilian employees. In the post-war years, Fort Douglas took on a sacred duty as the region's primary induction and separation center. During the Korean War, it served as the gateway for thousands of Rocky Mountain enlistees taking their physical, completing their processing, and taking their oaths of enlistment. Whether designated as the post-war induction station, the Armed Forces Examining and Entrance Station, or the modern MEPS, this base served as freedom's front door for generations of Utah's service members taking their first steps into military life. As military needs continued to shift, the Army began transferring surplus land to the University of Utah and other organizations. This legacy of partnership enabled the creation of the University of Utah Health Medical Complex, Research Park, the Natural History Museum of Utah, and Red Butte Garden. Recognized for its profound impact on the region, the historic heart of Fort Douglas was designated a National Historic Landmark in 1975. While it officially closed as an active military installation in October 1991, its story was far from over. It continued to serve as the headquarters for Army and Navy Marine Reserve Centers. Then, during the 2002 Olympic Winter Games, the world arrived at its doorstep. The university transformed the historic military housing along Officer Circle into the Olympic Village, breathing new life into structures that once housed generations of soldiers. Following the games, those same buildings were seamlessly integrated into the campus as student housing, ensuring that the proud architectural heritage of Fort Douglas remains a living, breathing part of the community today. Today's transfer represents a masterstroke of cooperation, recognizing that the aging infrastructure at Fort Douglas no longer met the modern readiness requirements of the Army Reserve. The state of Utah intervened with a historic multi-million-dollar appropriation. This funding facilitated the construction of a state-of-the-art 220,000 square foot Army Reserve Center at Camp Williams in Bluffdale, Utah, while the University of Utah secures the final 50 acres of its campus footprint. The Office of the Chief of Army Reserve Installation Management Directorate and the 88th Readiness Division partner with the university and the state of Utah to complete this significant land for facilities exchange that will promote opportunities for advanced study and research, all while preserving the most sacred elements of the fort's history. Today, we witness a moment that honors both history and transition. Members of the 76th Operational Response Command and the 807th Theater Medical Command will ceremonially unfold and fold an American flag that was flown over Fort Douglas on 24 July 2026 and stands as a symbol of service, partnership, and stewardship. This flag carries the legacy of generations of soldiers, civilians, and leaders who have trained, led, and served from this historic installation, contributing to missions at home and around the world. In its full form, the flag symbolizes the shared history and mutual respect that have connected the United States Army Reserve and the University of Utah for decades. While their missions differ, both have remained committed to serving something greater than themselves, whether through national defense, education, research, or public service. At the same time, the Army Reserve mission continues. Though soldiers will no longer serve from Fort Douglas, they carry forward the same commitment to readiness, leadership, and service as they relocate to Camp Williams. The location changes, but the mission endures. Each fold reminds us that while places evolve and organizations grow, the values that unite us remain constant: service, commitment, stewardship, partnership. This flag is now presented to the University of Utah President, Dr. Taylor Randall, as a symbol of the transfer of stewardship and a shared heritage between the Army Reserve and the University of Utah. May it serve as a lasting reminder of the past, an appreciation of the present, and a commitment to preserving the legacy entrusted to future generations. To commemorate the historic and enduring bond between our military community and the local community, Specialist Ashlyn Wright will also present a special token of appreciation to Dr. Randall. This presentation is a personal gesture of gratitude given directly from members of the 76 Operational Response Command and 807 Theater Medical Command for the university. This gift, a custom wooden carved key displayed in a shadow box, bears the inscription, "Passing the stewardship of Fort Douglas to the University of Utah." It also contains unit coins from both units. It symbolizes not only the transition of this historic terrain, but the profound trust, friendship, and continued partnership between the men and women of our armed forces and the university. Dr. Randall, thank you for your steadfast support of our service members and our shared history. I would now like to welcome our first guest speaker, University of Utah President, Dr. Taylor Randall.
Well, to our military hosts, Lieutenant General Harder, Major General Meisler, thank you very much, and many others that are here. I think we're deeply grateful today for the opportunity the university has to honor such an incredible legacy. I wish all of us had an opportunity to look out and meet every individual that's here today, to understand the service that they provided to this incredible country of ours in preserving freedom and establishing many of the opportunities that we have here today. The history of this remarkable fort has been reviewed, and I've learned a few things here this morning. But to think of the breadth of uses and what's gone on here is quite remarkable, from post-Civil War activity, when President Abraham Lincoln first sent volunteers here, to Buffalo soldiers, to mobilization during 2 world wars, to the incredible Army Reserve units who represent both our country and this state all over the world. It's been a remarkable location for service. And as has been mentioned, it is service that really binds our two institutions together. The notion that we exist to do something bigger than ourselves. It is that simple idea, I personally believe, that makes America the great country it is today. That history's not ending today. The mission will move forward in another location, but it is now our job to maintain that legacy. We have a shared history of growth. My family has been at this university serving as faculty for over 100 years. We have actually seen many of these land transfers. We've watched a research park grow. My grandfather taught students in Army barracks, and today I feel very honored to be a final part of this transfer. Much of the university's prosperity is owed to the incredible partnership that we've had over time that's allowed our different organizations to move and grow together and change as we have needed. Today, we might mark the final transfer of stewardship of land, but a continuation of deep service. As we receive these last 50 acres of Fort Douglas, we also know we receive a responsibility to honor all those who have served here, to preserve the historic nature of this incredible fort, and to ensure that this ground creates opportunity for our nation and our state. We're grateful to the U.S. Army Reserve, the Utah National Guard, Governor Spencer Cox, the Utah legislature. Blake, thank you so much for all that you've done in this process. Our congressional leaders have been remarkable in supporting this transition. I also have some members of my team that have done an incredible work. Jason Perry, Jim Russell, and former chair of my board of trustees, Christian Gardner. Christian helped us locate the land on which the new facility we'll see, it will be open this afternoon. And Peter Cook, thank you for your guidance in this whole process. So we accept this stewardship with gratitude, humility, and a promise to leave even greater possibilities for the generations that follow. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Dr. Randall. Our next speaker is Utah Congressman Blake Moore.
When we had the cloud cover a minute ago, the strict 3-minute timeline for our speeches wasn't as important, but it is very important now. And so I won't echo too much of what Dr. Randall said, but when you look at a project like this, as it dates back decades, and the amount of time put into this, you have to wonder, maybe it just took the right person to get elected finally to make this happen. And I say that because here's the self-deprecation part. I'm a little bit, it's a little awkward for me to be standing next to the people that have served our country the way that you have, and the people that have spent so much time and effort onto this over the years. And my very first meeting about this was hearing from our amazing, our late Senator Bob Bennett. And knowing that he was involved in this was kind of like a stimulant to me to say, hey, team, let's see if there's something. I mean, we've got to finish this. We've got to be a part of seeing this, if this could come to fruition. Because as you'll hear, everybody benefits from this experience, from this decision. And that usually doesn't work in Congress, unfortunately. Usually when something like that comes to be, it's always something that gets leveraged in an improper way, or the things that make sense don't always come to be. And this is a moment where it did. The University of Utah, industry, the Army, the National Guard, everybody involved is going to be a positive moving forward. As I think about what President Randall said with respect to the legacy, I am so comfortable and confident that the university will carry on the legacy that has been associated with camp and Fort Douglas over the centuries. I think about my dad as a student here, enlisting with his buddies when they all went in their various places during the Vietnam War. I mean, the presence of Camp Williams was a point that my dad would talk about and revere as a very unique, important aspect. For his formative years to know the relationship between either education and serving our country, it's been a unique and very important place. And I also recognize a few years ago I was on a consulting project, and the individual was giving an object lesson, and he was talking about in New York where the Olympics had been held. He talked about a reluctance to renovate the bobsled track that was part of Lake Placid, the history of Lake Placid and some of the things that took place in the previous Olympics. And there was a reluctance among the decision makers on moving into the next phase and renovating that. And they finally made the decision to do it, and that is now where they celebrate, and they actually do all the training for athletes going forward for that. They're honoring a legacy that existed by making sure that it's relevant for the next generation. There's an Olympic tie to what will be done here, I'm sure, as well. But thinking about what the university has planned here and how we are finding solutions throughout our community and other places that we'll also celebrate today is what makes this such a special, special program. So of all the names that President Randall listed, I would echo all the same. And it's an honor to be associated with all of you. But knowing the gumption and gusto that Jason Perry would bring to all of these projects, like our team knew this was important, and we did everything we could. Folks, we played a small part. Despite my earlier comments, we played a small part, and we were thrilled to be able to play even a small part of that, and we're excited to be able to see this come through. So thank you all to everybody, and I look forward to seeing what's to come. Go Utes.
Thank you, Congressman Moore. Our next speaker is Lieutenant General Robert Harder, Chief of Army Reserve and Commanding General, United States Army Reserve.
Thanks, brother. All right. Man, it's awesome to be here. What an awesome morning. Special thanks to Dr. Randall, Representative Moore, all the folks that have made this happen. And I will be brief, right? We got in so I found, hey, we're coming out to Salt Lake City. We're going to do this ceremony. I'm in Virginia. It's hot. It's humid. This will be awesome. Salt Lake City, mountain town, Winter Olympics. I landed last night at midnight. It was 87 degrees. That's not hot. That's Djibouti hot. I have been to Djibouti. This is my first trip to Utah. And for those of you sitting out there on the grass, be thankful you're not on the black AstroTurf stage. But let me tell you, what a beautiful place and what a beautiful partnership. I think what I would just like to do to talk about the meaning of Fort Douglas to the United States Army Reserve is to share a soldier's story. A young man, born in 1914 in England, came over here as a young boy with his family, grew up in the Midwest, ended up going to the University of Wyoming, graduated in 1938. Also went through ROTC and was commissioned as an Army Reserve Second Lieutenant. Being in the Army Reserve, twice a citizen, he was recruited by Sears Roebuck, came right here to Salt Lake City, and joined then the 38th Infantry Regiment right here at Fort Douglas. In 1940, we start to gear up for World War II. This young man gets activated, gets sent to Fort Bragg, starts training to stand up the 9th Infantry Division. A few years later, he gets put in command of an infantry battalion, 268 Infantry. He deploys in support of World War II, leads his battalion through campaigns in Tunisia, Sicily, D-Day, campaigns in northern France. While there, he's combat wounded twice. So after his second Purple Heart, the Army sends him back to Fort Benning, Georgia, where he starts training other young men at our United States Army Infantry School to get them ready. In 1947, he's released from active duty, and he returns to Salt Lake City and Fort Douglas, where he's a member of the 96th Infantry Division. This young man went on to have a tremendous career, ultimately achieved the rank of 2-star general, became Major General Michael Kaufman. And he later he was in command of the 96th Infantry Division as an Army Reserve leader when it was in Montana, and he was instrumental in bringing that command back here to Fort Douglas, Utah, and it later became the Army Reserve's 96 ARCOM, really established our footprint. And so while that General Kaufman is special, he is not unique. I think he captures the essence of what the Army Reserve brings to the table. Twice the citizen. He raised his family here in Salt Lake. He had children. He had grandchildren. He was president of the Salt Lake Lions Club, president of the Fort Douglas Historical Preservation Association, president of the Fort Douglas Military Museum Association, president of the Utah USO. So we lost him in 1994. But I think he captures the essence of Fort Douglas. And he represents the thousands of young Army reservists that have gone through this post, that have quietly made a difference in their communities, in the Army, and for the nation. So this is, Dr. Randall and I were talking, this is a little bittersweet, giving up Fort Douglas. And this is the first time I've seen it. I'm having second thoughts. But great partners, and we have this beautiful new facility that the university and the state has built for us. But know that your United States Army Reserve will forever be a part of Fort Douglas. The legacy lives on. So I'm honored to represent the Army Reserve here today and all those young men and women that serve our great nation. It's great to be here. What an awesome place, awesome reception. Twice the citizen, combat ready. This will defend. Ooh.
Thank you, Lieutenant General Harder. Our final speaker will be Major General Kevin Meisler, 88th Readiness Division Commanding General.
All right. First of all, I want to thank everyone who had anything to do with this ceremony, including the guy who put up the black stage, sir. I'm with you. I didn't know I need sunblock, but I guess I should have brought some. Real quick, ladies and gentlemen, community leaders, soldiers, families, distinguished guests, thank you for being here on this historic day. We gather to honor a place that has stood as a pillar of service, sacrifice, and readiness for more than 164 years. Today, we mark the closing of Fort Douglas, an installation whose legacy is woven into the fabric of the United States Army and our nation. For the Army Reserve, Fort Douglas has been more than an installation. It's been a home. Units trained here, deployed from here, and returned here. Families built their lives around this post. Leaders were developed here, and the values that define our force, discipline, readiness, and quiet professionalism, were strengthened within these walls. Transitions are never easy. They require planning, coordination, and a deep respect for what came before. But they're also a sign of progress. The move to Camp Williams represents modernization, improved facilities, and a renewed commitment to readiness. It ensures that our soldiers have the resources, infrastructure, and support they need to meet the demands of today's missions and tomorrow's challenges. As we look ahead to the next chapter at Camp Williams, we do so with pride in what has been accomplished and the confidence of what lies before us. The Army Reserve remains ready, capable, and committed, just as it has been throughout the long history at Fort Douglas. Thank you.
Thank you, Major General Meisler. At this time, Major General Thompson and Major General Yost will present our distinguished speakers with commemorative roof tiles from the historic Fort Douglas buildings as a token of our appreciation and a lasting memento of today's ceremony. As we conclude today's ceremony, we would like to recognize the generations of soldiers, Army civilians, and families who served at Fort Douglas. If you or a loved one served at Fort Douglas during the Vietnam War era, the Cold War, or Desert Storm, please stand. If you or a loved one served at Fort Douglas after Desert Storm through today, please stand. Thank you. Your service built the legacy we honor today. To the soldiers and leaders who continue that legacy, and to those who will carry it forward to Camp Williams and wherever the mission calls, you are now the stewards of more than 160 years of history, service, and sacrifice. While Fort Douglas closes this chapter, the values forged here, duty, readiness, and selfless service, will continue to guide the United States Army Reserve for generations to come. Please stand for the benediction delivered by Chaplain Haas, the playing of the Army song, and retiring of the colors.
Please join me in the spirit of prayer. Holy One, we commend to your care this installation and all who have served, worked, lived, and found community here. For missions undertaken and completed, and for those left unfinished, we give thanks. For hopes fulfilled and for aspirations that remain unrealized, we seek your grace. For sacrifice made in service to the nation, we offer our gratitude. For friendships forged and memories cherished, we give thanks. As this chapter comes to a close, carry forward all that has been good, faithful, and life-giving in this place. As we move to Camp Williams, Holy One, bless our feet that we may not stumble, and strengthen our hearts so that we may remember that the Army goes rolling along. Army. Amen.
Please remain standing as we commemorate the transfer of Fort Douglas and celebrate the enduring partnership between the United States Army Reserve and the University of Utah with the playing of the University of Utah fight song. On behalf of the United States Army Reserve and the University of Utah, thank you for joining us today to honor the legacy of Fort Douglas. We invite you to join us today at 2 p.m. for the ribbon-cutting ceremony at the Army Reserve's newest headquarters at Camp Williams as we mark the beginning of the next chapter. You are invited to join us for cake and refreshments at the tents located near the barn. This concludes the ceremony.
And for one final announcement, if we could get all of the 96 alumni in front of the podium for an alumni photo and the current 96 members. All 96 alumni in front of the podium, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, today's ceremony will begin in 5 minutes. Please start making your way to your seats. Thank you.
Can you announce, like, start filling in the shares and whoever is extra to go to the overflow area? Okay, thank you, sir.
For our standing room guests, please take a seat. Please see if you can find take a seat in the space here. If not, we do have seats available in the overflow spaces, back up in the drill hall where we just had the luncheon. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, the ceremony will begin in 2 minutes. Please begin to take your seats if you have not already. Please take this opportunity to silence all cell phones and electronic devices to maintain the dignity of today's event. For those unable to attend, today's ceremony will be live streamed. Good afternoon, distinguished guests, fellow service members, and members of the Bluffdale community. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Stephen Keister. I'm with the 88th Readiness Division, United States Army Reserve. Welcome to the ribbon cutting of this new state-of-the-art U.S. Army Reserve Center. As a reminder, this is an indoor ceremony. Salutes are not rendered during the playing of the national anthem. Uniform members will stand, stay at attention. Civilian members, if you're wearing a cap, please remove it. Place hands over your hearts. This time, please rise for the arrival of the official party, presentation of the colors, and the singing of the national anthem by Staff Sergeant Derek Garrett with the Utah Army National Guard. Remain standing for the invocation offered by Chaplain Daniel Haas of the 807th Theater Medical Command.
Please join me in the spirit of prayer. Holy One, as we open this new Army Reserve Center on Camp Williams, we ask your blessing on all who will serve here. May this place strengthen the partnership between the Army Reserve and the Utah National Guard, embodying the vision of Camp Williams as the premier home of land forces in Utah. One team, one fight. Grant wisdom to leaders, resilience to soldiers, and peace to their families as they carry out the mission in front of them. Amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. On behalf of the United States Army Reserve and Major General Kevin Meisler, Commanding General of the 88th Readiness Division, welcome to the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the Camp Williams Army Reserve Center. We are honored to be joined today by Lieutenant General Robert Harder, Chief of the Army Reserve and Commanding General, United States Army Reserve. Mr. Stephen Sullivan, Assistant Chief of the Army Reserve. Dr. Taylor Randall, University of Utah President. Brigadier General Michael Kerr, Adjutant General, Utah National Guard. Major General Retired Peter Cook, former Commanding General of the 96th Regional Readiness Command. Major General Kevin Meisler, 88th Readiness Division, Commanding General. We are also privileged to welcome Lieutenant General Retired Jody Daniels, former Chief of the Army Reserve and Commanding General, United States Army Reserve, and Commanding General, 88th Readiness Division. Finally, we want to extend a warm welcome to our command teams, our general officers, our command sergeants major, distinguished visitors, community leaders, veterans, soldiers, Army civilians, University of Utah partners, families, and friends. Thank you for joining us as we officially open the Camp Williams Army Reserve Center and mark the beginning of our next chapter. The U.S. Army Reserve's 88th Readiness Division, headquartered at Fort McCoy, Wisconsin, provides facilities, direct support services, and base support operations across a 19-state footprint, including the great state of Utah. The 88th Readiness Division is responsible for the maintenance, support, and construction of every Army Reserve building and structure in that footprint, including the impressive facility we see here today. This modern complex honors the red brick heritage of historic Fort Douglas while embracing contemporary design and function. It offers abundant natural light, high-tech collaborative workspaces, and a maintenance shop built to standards that rival the best in private industry. This project stands as a testament to the strong partnerships between the Army Reserve Installation Management Directorate, the state of Utah, and the University of Utah. As part of this effort, the University of Utah received 50 acres of Fort Douglas land to better connect its main campus, medical center, and research park. In return, the university funded and constructed this new Army Reserve Center at Camp Williams. This exchange provides the Army Reserve with modern, consolidated home for the next century, a partnership recognized with a 2025 Army Community Partnership Award. As we commemorate this achievement, it is only fitting that we hear from the leaders and partners who made it possible. Their vision, commitment, and collaboration shaped this project from the ground up. With that, it is my honor to welcome our first guest speaker, University of Utah President, Dr. Taylor Randall.
This morning we celebrated 164 years of history and service at Fort Douglas. For me, it was a remarkably touching ceremony to look out and see many individuals who had served there. Jim, it was great that you came up and told your stories. I appreciated that. That was probably the highlight of the morning for me, is just those casual interactions afterwards to see the service that had been going on there. And now we turn the next chapter for the U.S. Army Reserve here. You know, it is quite a contrast. If you think in 1862, I believe the first winter was spent in 4-foot dugouts with canvas over the top. We tried to simulate that in summer conditions for those of us on the stand a little bit. When the sweat and the sun broke out, it was difficult. So here we are, grateful to have air conditioning and a modern building. We're thrilled that this will host approximately 1,800 members of the reserve and 2 major commands. It was important as we negotiated this that those commands stayed in Utah, because they're a vital part of this community and what we do here. We're deeply grateful for the remarkable partners that made this happen. I was told by Sully that this was a unique transaction, where we had the governor, our legislature, of course the Army and Army Reserve, and the university all coming together to try to create a win-win situation where the university could continue to grow, but also the reserve could have what they needed for the modern world and modern warfare. Today our soldiers will be better equipped here at Camp Williams. There will be better partnerships. And for the university, we're deeply grateful for the years of history. I want you to know we're committed to honoring that legacy. Lieutenant General Harder told a remarkable story of leadership and development that occurs. While it was a unique story, you said it happens all the time. And I will just say the university is dedicated to those same principles. We want to preserve that spirit of leadership. We want to preserve the heritage of those buildings that you see at the fort. And we hope that you will see leaders coming out of the university that appreciate the sacrifice and service that you've all made. So the future is not built by waiting around. It's built by individuals that see a bright future and actually go clutch it and move it forward. And all of those individuals that I actually mentioned made that happen here today. So to our military partners, Stephen Sully Sullivan, Brigadier General Kerr, Lieutenant General Harder, Brigadier General Johnson, Major General Cook, Major General Meisler, thank you very, very much for allowing the university to be partners on this project. To the 76th Operational and the 807th Medical Commands, congratulations on a pretty stunning new home. Thank you to everyone for making this new chapter possible.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Randall. Our next speaker, Assistant Chief of the Army Reserve, Mr. Stephen Sullivan. Sir.
Good afternoon. It's great to be back here at Camp Williams for this tremendous ribbon cutting ceremony in this beautiful facility. After the ceremony this morning, and with temps hitting 100 degrees today, I'm happy this is inside, as I think you probably are too. I extend a warm welcome to our distinguished guests, university leaders, and community supporters of the Army Reserve. It's been 35 years since the National Defense Authorization Act for 1991 created a pathway to transfer the remainder of Fort Douglas to the University of Utah. There have been countless efforts to find a home for the Army Reserve that would serve both partners. When Lieutenant General Jody Daniels, to trust me to roll up our sleeves, sharpen our pencils, and work collaboratively with President Randall and his team to find a way to yes. The state of Utah's historic commitment to appropriate resources to acquire the land and fund the construction of this facility was really the tipping point. For that, I want to thank all Utahns, but especially Senator Stuart Adams and Mr. Jason Perry for the influence necessary to make that happen. In 2 short years, our partners at Jacobson Construction and Elliott Work Group, working with Mr. Jim Russell, see you down there, the 88th Readiness Division and the Utah Army National Guard have turned a hillside at Camp Williams into a world-class training and maintenance facility that will be key to building Army Reserve readiness necessary to support the total Army and the Joint Force when they call for our soldiers to mobilize and deploy either here at home or abroad. This is truly the Army Reserve's crown jewel, and we want to thank you, gentlemen, for everything. And the university were recognition award highlighting this collaboration. I'm thrilled we're going to dedicate this building to the distinguished legacy of the Deadeyes, many of whom are in attendance today, who have served and fought bravely from World War II to Bosnia and throughout the global war on terror, including the award of 5 Medals of Honor, 12 Distinguished Service Crosses, and 232 Silver Stars. General retired Peter Cook, former Commanding General of the 96th Regional Readiness Command at Fort Douglas. Peter, your presence here today honors us, and we thank you for everything you've done to be the driving force in keeping this on track and connecting the right people in the state of Utah, the university, the Army Reserve, and the local community to finally make this a reality. It's only fitting that the Army Reserve's 96th Sustainment Brigade will continue to build the Deadeye legacy while serving here at Camp Williams. This is a great day for the Army Reserve and the state of Utah, and I'm thankful for all the people who played a part in making this happen. To serve and excel, twice a citizen, combat ready, this will defend.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan. Our next speaker is Brigadier General Michael Kerr, Adjutant General, Utah National Guard.
Well, welcome to Camp Williams. I've been able to watch this project develop really over the last 5 years, knowing that it's been 20 years or more in the making. And I feel a little bit like Congressman Moore. I don't feel like I had much to do with it. I know Sully had a lot more blood and sweat, and General Cook did as well. But General Harder, on behalf of the Utah National Guard, we're honored to expand our camp with the nearly 2,000 reservists that will augment and train here. As you see in the news, we have a lot of trials ahead of us. I think every commanding general, every leader, and every enlisted soldier feels the weight of what lies ahead in the unknown. And if we can be a part of that with a wonderful readiness center that they have to train those soldiers at, where they can feel they gain the capabilities to be prepared to go and defend what we love the most, the freedoms that we enjoy, we're all in. As the Utah National Guard, we're looking forward to the partnership. We all together have the same goal, and that's to take care of our sons, our daughters, our wives, our husbands, our family members. And this building today gets after that, and we're glad to be a part of that. So on behalf of the Utah National Guard, the citizens of Utah, welcome. And we look forward to, our motto is one team, one fight, and we're glad to welcome the Army Reserves into that as we get after the challenges we have ahead. Thank you.
For those of you following along in your, since that went to print, of course, he then got promoted. So if you would, please join me in a congratulations for now.
You know, I'm not as fast as I used to be, but if I catch you, you're going down. But I will just tell you, this is, Dr. Randall mentioned, like, initially, what was it, 1861, 4-foot dugout with canvas over the top. We have reserve centers like that now. We do. This is the crown jewel. And I think this is the way ahead for how we do business in the Army and, quite frankly, the federal government with regards to military construction and taking care of our awesome soldiers and leaders. What I have told people time and time again, and where are my Corps of Engineers folks? I just want to make sure I know who I'm going to offend before I do it. But if we could impose our bureaucracy, if the United States could impose its bureaucracy on its enemies, we wouldn't have to fire another shot. This reserve center, we were on track for this to be $220 million in 8 years to build. In partnership with the University of Utah, the state of Utah, the governor's team, this was built in less than 18 months at less than half that cost. That is the right way to get after things, right? So thank you. And why this is so important to us in the Army Reserve and to my Guard teammates, right? To be able to be here, partnering with Mike and his team on this awesome installation, is your Army Reserve is in the fight. And I would ask for your advocacy as you're out and about. We are, your United States Army Reserve, we're not a force in reserve. We have 1,900 soldiers right now in the CENTCOM AOR. We have 90 to 95% of the enabling capabilities, engineers, medical, which we have in this building, sustainment, logistics, signal for the entire Army and the Joint Force. March 1 was a bad day for the United States Army Reserve. We lost 6 American heroes at the port of Shuaibah in Kuwait when a Shahed drone came blowing in. And those soldiers were over there getting after the sustainment mission in the CENTCOM AOR. It's your Army Reserve. And the division that's on the ground over there is National Guard. We are in the fight. We're funded to 39 days a year. 39 days a year to get ready. That's why having an awesome facility like this in an area where we can train, get out and fire our weapons, drive our trucks, prepared to defend ourselves against UAS, employee counter UAS is so important to us in the nation. And I'm honored to be here, right? Twice a citizen, combat ready, this will defend.
Thank you, General Harder. We now move to the memorialization ceremony, honoring the legacy of the 96th Infantry Division, the Deadeyes. It is my honor to introduce our guest speaker, Major General Retired Peter Cook, former Commanding General of what was the 96th Infantry Division, the Deadeyes. Sir.
My whole family wants to line up with you, so there you go.
Raise your right hand, Peter.
I got a Navy guy out there. Distinguished guests, veterans, soldiers, families, community partners, and friends, thank you. Thank you for joining us on this historic day. Today we dedicate the 96th Infantry Division Deadeye Memorial U.S. Army Reserve Center. In doing so, we honor nations of Americans whose courage and sacrifice and service have strengthened our nation. For more than 108 years, the soldiers of the 96th Infantry of American service, an unwavering commitment. Today, we dedicate the Army Reserve Center in their name. We gather not only to remember their history, but to affirm the living legacy of the Deadeyes. The story of the 96 began in 1918, continued through its reconstitution in 1921, and rose to historic prominence during the Second World War. Activated in 1942, the division trained across the West Coast in Hawaii. And before landing at Leyte Gulf in 1944, the fighting was fierce. Yet the soldiers of the 96th pressed forward, rebuilding, regrouping, and ultimately landing in Okinawa on April the 1st, 1945. It was there in one of the most brutal battles of the Pacific War that they earned the name Deadeyes. Their marksmanship, their discipline, their unwavering resolve helped bring the war to its conclusion. For their extraordinary heroism, the division received the Presidential Unit Citation, an honor bestowed on only 6 Army divisions. But perhaps the most treasured measure of the Deadeyes is found in the courage of the individual soldiers. The 96th Infantry Division earned 5 medals of honor during World War II, 1 for the actions in Leyte and 4 in Okinawa. 3 of those awards were presented posthumously, serving as a solemn reminder of the ultimate sacrifice made by those who wore the Deadeye patch. For a division that fought only 2 major campaigns, earning 5 medals of honors is extraordinary. It stands as a lasting testament to the courage, determination, and fighting spirit of the Deadeyes. Their legacy is not measured by the number of battles they fought, but the character they displayed in every one of them. Following the war, the 96th found its enduring home at Fort Douglas, and for 65 years, soldiers trained, mobilized, and led from the historic installation, serving communities across the Mountain West, Great Plains, from Vietnam to Desert Storm, from Bosnia to the long years following the September 11th, and the 96th continued to answer the nation's call, mobilizing thousands of soldiers for missions across the world. Today, the 96th Sustainment Brigade proudly carries the legacy forward. The Deadeye spirit is born on the battlefields of Leyte in Okinawa. It lives on in every soldier who wears the patch. It lives on in every formation it deploys, every soldier who trains, and every leader who steps forward to serve. As we commemorate a division's decades at Fort Douglas, we honor more than a place. We honor generations of soldiers that passed through its gates, their service, their sacrifice, their example. They built a legacy of readiness, resilience, and quiet professionalism that continues to shape the United States Army Reserve today. And now the legacy has a new home. Today we dedicate the 96th Infantry Division Deadeye Memorial U.S. Army Reserve Center, a place where the past is honored, the present is strengthened, and the future is prepared. This center stands as a living memorial to the Deadeyes, a reminder that courage endures, that example inspires, and their story continues. Here at Camp Williams, a new generation of soldiers will train, mobilize, and lead, just as the Deadeyes did before them. They will walk hallways lined with history. They will serve under a name forged in battle. They will carry forward a legacy more than a century in the making. The Deadeyes are not simply remembered, they're carried forward. May they honor their example. May they strengthen their legacy. And may they always be worthy of wearing the name Deadeye. Thank you. And may God bless the soldiers and the families of the 96th Sustainment Brigade, the United States Army Reserve, and the United States of America. Deadeye!
With the memorialization complete, let us take a moment of silence to honor those that made the ultimate sacrifice while assigned to the 96th Infantry Division. Memorial U.S. Army Reserve Center. Thank you, General Cook. Our last speaker for this portion is Major General Kevin Meisler, Commanding General of the 88th Readiness Division.
All right, that was definitely a tough act to follow. And if there was going to be a mic drop, that was it. I was getting ready to push this thing over. Sir, I really appreciate it. And I could assure you that the future soldiers going through here will live up to the Deadeye spirit. So, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished visitors, community leaders, partners, soldiers, and civilians, thank you for joining us today. Your presence reflects the strength and the relationships that makes our Army Reserve mission possible. To our construction and coordination partners, Thank you for your professionalism. To our community leaders, thank you for your continued support. We're proud to call you neighbors and partners. Your commitment strengthens our Army Reserve and supports our nation. The soldiers and civilians in our workforce live in your communities, attend your schools, play in your sports leagues. They are your friends, family, and neighbors. We build strong partnerships, and when we honor both heritage and innovation, we create something that will serve generations of soldiers. This partnership was recognized by the 2025 Department of the Army Community Partnership Award, one of only 5 awards, because this project demonstrates what can happen when institutions work together with trust, respect, and shared purpose. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. And thank you for your unwavering commitment to the United States Army Reserve. Thank you.
Brigadier General Care with a commemorative roof tile from the historic Fort Douglas buildings as a token, and upstairs a few minutes ago.
All right, if I could everybody keep coming out. We're going to line up right across here. We're going to start over at where the cement wall starts. Sir,
The architects didn't realize when they designed this that it was going to be 100 degrees today, and figured it'd be a good idea to have some natural light to be able to come in, as well as for us to be able to stay in the comfort of the air conditioning and enjoy watching that from in here.
we're going to do a 3-person scissors cut.
There we go. There we go.
Don't run with the scissors.
I gotta let the two
No. This is very important part of this. Now, okay, so here's the thing. With these, we want to make sure we get the ribbon right in here and then cut fast. So what we're going to do, I'll do the same. All right.
How come I get this honor? I don't bring it
All right, go across. I'll take the plastic.
If I fail,
For
it's
those
only because
of you
of my
following
support
along up
by
in
two
Not everyone.
the guest quarters upstairs,
CSM.
at this time our expert public affairs officials are trying to get how many 2 stars, 1 stars, command sergeants major in line for a photo op. You know, that's a really good question. I recommend you ask that to your tour guide after this. Perhaps they even will have the scissors available for additional opportunities.
Do the countdown. I'm going to back up so everybody, can everybody see the camera?
Which one?
Where to look?
I'm gonna be looking at the scissors.
This one's probably the primary right here. So right here.
No, we can't see it. This dude's in the way. Right.
Everybody look and smile.
Can you have this camera guy back up?
Okay, now we got the video guy. Where's the university video? University. Okay, ready? We're gonna do a countdown. We're gonna do 3, 2, 1, and cut. So ready? 3, 2, 1, and cut.
It's all you guys, man.
As I say, we'll get that as well.
Always, right?
Safety first.
And now the next challenge for our public affairs officials. How long does it take to get a group of GOs and senior leaders back to their seats? Very good, sir. We've got your command sergeant major right there.
That's right.
He was taking care of you. Well done, sergeant major. For our members of the ribbon cutting team, thank you. Appreciate everyone making their way back in and getting back into the air conditioning.
Dr. Randall said he did have some mail.
I forgot to start the timer. Photographs and back in. Well done. Sergeant Major, thank you.
Go, Sergeant Major.
This ribbon cutting signifies a step toward ensuring our Army Reserve soldiers have the best possible facilities and equipment as they defend the nation, combat ready. We will now continue the program with the placement of the time capsule. The placement of the time capsule captures the legacy of Fort Douglas, the evolution of our units, and the enduring spirit of the United States Army Reserve. This capsule is not simply a container. It is a message to the future about who we were, what we valued, and how we served. The purpose of the time capsule. The closing of Fort Douglas and the transition to Camp Williams marks a historic turning point. For more than a century, Fort Douglas has been home to soldiers, a center of readiness, and a symbol of service. As we move forward, we preserve the memory of this installation and the people who shaped it. This time capsule ensures that decades from now, future soldiers will understand the significance of this moment, our commitment, our challenges, and our pride. Today's time capsule has been organized into 5 categories, each chosen to represent the heritage of Fort Douglas, the transition to Camp Williams, and the soldiers who served during this historic period. The first category, unit heritage, patches, coins, and insignia from the Utah National Guard and Army Reserve units assigned to Fort Douglas, symbolizing lineage, identity, and the soldiers who carried out the mission. Second category, historical record. A curated selection of documents, including the Fort Douglas closing program, the Camp Williams ribbon cutting program, a U.S. flag flown in the Utah State Capitol, and the 8 August 2026 newspaper article capturing the public narrative of this transition. A year in review. A summary of significant events from 2026, providing future soldiers with a context about the world and the Army Reserve during this period. Soldier representation. An operational camouflage pattern, OCP, uniform, and a photograph of this new Army Reserve Center reflecting the daily readiness, professionalism, and commitment of our soldiers. And lastly, an organizational snapshot. The U.S. Army Reserve's at-a-glance booklet, offering a clear picture of the structure, mission, and capabilities of the Army Reserve in 2026. Additionally, we have a hard hat from Jacobson Construction Company and a coin from the University of Utah. Why this capsule matters. This capsule is more than a collection of artifacts. It is a bridge between generations. It preserves the identity of Fort Douglas, honors the soldiers who served there, and marks the transition to Camp Williams as a moment of growth and modernization. It tells future soldiers that in 2026, we stood at a crossroads and we chose progress while honoring tradition. It reminds them that the U.S. Army Reserve is built on adaptability, resilience, and service. It ensures that long after today's formations have changed, the memory of this place and of this moment will endure. As we seal this capsule, we do so with pride, with gratitude, and with hope. Ladies and gentlemen, we're reaching the end. Please stand for the benediction, the playing of the Army song, and the retiring of the colors.
Reserve Center.
Sir, request permission to retire the colors. Order arms. Left face. Forward. Forward, march.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. On behalf of the U.S. Army Reserve and the 88th Readiness Division, we extend our sincere gratitude for your presence and support. We invite you to remain with us for guided tours of this new facility, which will begin immediately following this ceremony. Thank you once again for joining us on this historic occasion. We wish you safe travels and continued success. Thank you.